Welcome back to the online training on cross-border e-commerce for SMEs export, opportunities, challenges, and policy implications. This is the second of 6 presentations on cross-border e-commerce. The topic of this presentation is SMEs' participation in international trade through cross-border e-commerce, opportunities and challenges, and has been prepared by Tungfei Wang, Jiang Wang, and Elliot Carpenter in conjunction with other SCAP projects regarding cross-border e-commerce. When we talk about cross-border e-commerce, inevitably we may need to mention the names of specific companies to serve as examples. However, it's important to point out that the mention of firm names and commercial products does not imply the endorsement of the United Nations. This applies to all training modules. At the end of this module, learners should be able to outline the key challenges that SMEs face when participating in international trade, and summarize how cross-border e-commerce can reduce these challenges, but also why some challenges may still remain. In 2008, the OECD published a report that singled out 47 key barriers that limit small and medium-sized enterprises from engaging in international trade. These issues can be divided into internal and external barriers. Internal barriers encompass challenges within a company that stem from its organizational resources, capabilities, and its approach to exporting goods. These include difficulties in accessing and processing information about international markets, as well as inefficiencies in internal functions like human resources, production, and finance structure, as well as hurdles in adapting marketing strategies that fit overseas markets, encompassing product, pricing, distribution, logistics, and promotional activities. On the other hand, external barriers are broadly outside of the SME's control and arise in the environment from which the firm operates, both in its home country and abroad. These barriers can include complex procedures for engaging with foreign customers, restrictive actions, or a lack of support from the home government, challenges posed by foreign customers and competitors that directly impact export operations, and the broader business environment of the target market, which itself includes economic, political, legal, and socio-cultural aspects. Additionally, companies must navigate tariff and non-tariff barriers to trade that are imposed by government policies as well as regulations in foreign markets. The structure of this section is as follows. A barrier is introduced, and then it's described how cross-border e-commerce can alleviate said barrier, but then the limitations of such actions are stated. Starting with internal informational barriers that small and medium-sized enterprises may face, they include a limited information on how to locate and analyze markets. Cross-border e-commerce improves information dissemination in targeted markets through enhanced accessibility. On the other hand, the difficulty of finding adequate information about national laws, payment methods, logistics solutions may not be overcome by cross-border e-commerce alone. Furthermore, SMEs may only have access to unreliable data about international markets. Cross-border e-commerce enhances the reliability of data about international markets and enables SMEs to gain access to a wealth of real-time data on consumer behavior, market trends, and competitive dynamics in different countries. However, the quality and reliability of data can vary significantly by source, and SMEs may lack the expertise to critically evaluate the accuracy of information. Regarding the identification of foreign business opportunities, cross-border e-commerce allows businesses to forge partnerships and collaborations across borders, thus facilitating knowledge sharing and enabling businesses to tap into each other's strengths. However, identifying truly value opportunities requires more than just digital presence. It demands an understanding of cultural nuances, market specifics, and the ability to build trust, factors that are challenging to navigate solely through online channels. The final informational barrier SMEs may face is their inability to contact overseas customers. E-commerce platforms and digital communication tools such as email, social media, and instant messaging can overcome geographical and time zone barriers, therefore making it easier to reach and engage with customers anywhere in the world. However, SMEs from emerging countries may not have the capacity to build partnerships with overseas customers solely through online channels. There are also functional barriers that prevent SMEs from engaging in international trade. Cross-border e-commerce can, to some extent, remedy the following. By automating and streamlining various aspects of the trading process, such as market analysis, customer engagement, and logistics management, cross-border e-commerce platforms reduce the need for extensive managerial intervention. On the other hand, the strategic aspects of internationalization, such as market selection and relationship building, do still require significant managerial input and cannot be fully automated. SMEs also often suffer from insufficient personnel for internationalization, and cross-border e-commerce widens their access to the global talent pool for outsourcing tasks that do not require in-house attention. This can include tasks such as digital marketing, logistics management, and customer service. Online training resources can also upskill existing staff at a lower cost. On the other hand, e-commerce is a knowledge-intensive sector, utilizing advanced devices, software, and applications in both production and business operations. Qualified personnel specialized in cross-border e-commerce may not be so readily available in developing countries. Furthermore, SMEs often lack excessive production capacity. On-demand production and dropshipping models facilitated by cross-border e-commerce can help SMEs scale their operations without significant upfront investments in production capacity. However, physical production constraints and the need for quality control in manufacturing processes limit the extent to which production can be scaled up quickly or outsourced without potentially compromising product quality. Finally, SMEs often have no working capital to finance exports. Traditionally, expanding a business internationally involved considerable costs, including establishing physical stores, hiring local staff, and navigating complex regulatory environments. However, cross-border e-commerce platforms enable businesses to reach global markets with minimal investment. On the other hand, SMEs suffer from low levels of trust from lenders as their financial statements lack the rigor of larger businesses. This results in much higher loan interest rates or outright rejection. The OECD lists as many as 16 marketing barriers, which might be a few too many to list in any significant detail here. This is because marketing barriers are particularly broad, being defined as pressures imposed on adapting a small and medium-sized enterprise marketing strategy involving barriers associated with a company's product, pricing, distribution, logistics, and promotional activities overseas. However, cross-border e-commerce can help reduce these barriers in the following ways. Cross-border e-commerce offers SMEs access to international markets, enabling direct interaction with customers and providing valuable insights into local market trends and consumer preferences. This direct access facilitates the adaptation of products, packaging, and promotional activities to meet the diverse needs and regulatory requirements of different markets. However, deep cultural understanding and the nuance of local consumer behavior often require more than online interactions can provide. Regulatory environments and standards vary widely between markets and are subject to frequent changes. From here on, we'll discuss external barriers that SMEs face when engaging in international trade. Moving on to procedural barriers, SMEs are often unfamiliar with exporting procedures and paperwork. Digital platforms and services can simplify the complexity of these procedures by providing a streamlined, user-friendly access to necessary documentation and customs compliance information. On the other hand, the complexity and variability regarding international trade regulations, customs documentation, and compliance requirements can lead to costly errors, delays, and potential legal issues. SMEs often have difficulties in communicating with overseas customers. Digital communication tools such as email, instant messaging, and video conferences can significantly reduce the geographical and psychological distances between seller and buyer, facilitating more frequent and effective communication. Still, for SMEs, language and cultural barriers can pose significant obstacles. Also, SMEs may suffer from the slow collection of payment from abroad. The e-payment platforms often speed up this payment collection issue. Finally, SMEs often face difficulties in enforcing contracts and resolving disputes. Online dispute resolution platforms and digital contract management systems can offer more transparent, efficient, and cost-effective solutions for enforcing contracts and resolving disputes. These technologies can help overcome the challenges of non-verifiable information and ambiguity in contracts. On the other hand, the complexity of identifying applicable laws and determining the appropriate legal authority, as well as enforcing legal decisions, sometimes makes it difficult to enforce contracts or resolve disputes. Regarding government barriers, SMEs often lack home government support for engaging in international trade. By contrast, some governments promote cross-border e-commerce as a strategy to promote exports. However, SMEs may still contend with restrictive laws and regulation bureaucracies. Secondly, SMEs may face an unfavorable set of domestic rules and regulations that make international trade difficult. Global cross-border e-commerce platforms have experience dealing with a variety of regulatory environments and often provide guidelines and tools to help businesses comply with international trade laws. However, the regulations are typically rooted in national security, economic policy, or international agreements, which are both slow to change and also restrict the ability of platforms to alter them. Finally, SMEs may face an unfavorable set of foreign rules and regulations that make exporting to them difficult. Access to international e-marketplaces allow SMEs to bypass some of the regulatory barriers by leveraging platforms that have already navigated these issues. However, much like the previous point on domestic regulatory challenges, foreign regulations are very difficult to bypass without breaking the law. Regarding customer and competitor barriers, there may be significant habits or attitudes foreign customers have that SMEs need to adapt to. Cross-border e-commerce platforms enable access to a global customer base, therefore allowing for targeted marketing and personalized product offering based on data analytics. However, understanding and adapting to cultural nuances, consumer behavior, and local preferences require on-the-ground insights that digital platforms alone cannot fully provide. Additionally, SMEs face significant competition when operating in overseas markets. While competition may lead to innovation of the products or business processes, SMEs may still have very little revenue to innovate and will therefore be comparatively less competitive. Here we discuss the business environment barriers that SMEs face. Poor or deteriorating economic conditions abroad are a significant challenge that SMEs face that they have no control over. Cross-border e-commerce enables businesses to adapt to changing market conditions by adjusting prices, promotions, and product offerings in real time, based on consumer behavior analytics. However, while this may make SMEs more dynamic and flexible, reflecting the ever-changing condition of the global economy, deep economic crises and structural issues in foreign markets cannot be overcome solely through cross-border e-commerce. SMEs may face currency risks when engaging in international trade. While a weak currency may support an SME's exports, currency exchange is beyond their control and can significantly impact their revenue and thus their ability to engage in international trade. SMEs may be unfamiliar with business practices when operating in a foreign market. Online forums, business networks, and digital resources provide valuable insights into local business practices, therefore helping SMEs adapt their operations and strategies accordingly. However, the subtleties of local business etiquette and practices require on-the-ground experience and relationships that digital tools alone cannot fully replicate. Similarly, SMEs may face different socio-cultural traits in foreign markets. In setting up operations in a country, cross-border e-commerce platforms have learned the socio-cultural traits, therefore reducing the burden faced by SMEs. However, to have a deep level of understanding of a foreign culture is always challenging. SMEs will likely face verbal and non-verbal language differences when operating overseas, which can be alleviated by translation software, and multilingual customer service can help bridge the language barriers, making it easier to communicate with customers in their native language. However, despite advancements in recent years, verbal language can still be difficult to be translated by software. There may also be inadequate infrastructure to effectively engage in international trade. Smartphones and mobile applications have become pivotal intermediaries for the expansion of cross-border e-commerce. However, improving larger infrastructure, such as roads and ports, is always difficult. Additionally, SMEs face significant risks when engaging in international trade, with markets experiencing political instability. Instant online payment services may reduce the fiscal risk of SMEs exporting, but markets may still deteriorate nonetheless. Furthermore, SMEs may face unfavorable quotas or embargoes that limit their ability to engage with international trade. Market research tools and digital platforms can help identify alternative markets and diversify the business market's presence to reduce the reliance on any single market affected by quotas or embargoes. However, the imposition of quotas and embargoes is often based on geopolitical factors and international relations, areas where businesses have very limited influence. Finally, SMEs may have difficulty coping with the high cost of customs administration. E-commerce platforms that offer electronic documentation and customs clearance services can help reduce some administrative costs and delays associated with customs processes. However, the level of customs taxation directly affects the development of cross-border e-commerce and is beyond the control of SMEs. Tariff and non-tariff barriers include SMEs often facing high tariffs when exporting their goods to overseas markets. This makes their goods uncompetitive relative to said market's domestic products. The growth of cross-border e-commerce has helped facilitate the broad adoption of a high de minimis threshold, therefore meaning that SMEs exporting small packages of low value are exempt from paying tariffs. However, not every country has adopted such measures, and there are still many instances where the de minimis threshold is low, therefore restricting the value of goods SMEs can export to relevant markets without facing tariffs. Strict foreign rules and regulations are a significant barrier faced by SMEs, as it's typically the cross-border e-commerce platform's responsibility to follow rules and regulations of the import country already. This makes it easier for SMEs to know whether it is legal to sell products in another country. However, rules and regulations are very complex and constantly changing factor in international trade, which requires comprehensive local knowledge that cannot fully be addressed through digital means alone. Finally, restrictive health, safety, and other technical standards may limit SMEs' ability to engage in international trade. Access to online databases may assist SMEs in understanding specific country standards and therefore reduce the cost for SMEs to meet these requirements. However, to fully meet diverse and sometimes discriminatory standards across countries requires more than just digital information sources. Thank you for your attention. For further information, please refer to these reports prepared by ESCAP. For any further inquiries, please contact escap-tiid@un.org. We're keen to improve this training. Therefore, if you have any suggestions or feedback, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you again.